Let's start with a discussion of music. Not what it is, but what is the value of music? What does it mean to us in our lives? Daniel Levitin says, the power of art is that it can connect us to one another and to larger truths about what it means to be alive and what it means to be human. Music in all its forms allows us to explore different avenues for self-expression. But can music be impacting if it's not presented in the traditional format known to many hearing individuals? The deaf community has already discovered this to be true through the use of ASL music and poetry.
In his book, Arts with the Brain in Mind, Eric Jensen talks about how music is biologically part of human life. Language is biological too. In a human genome project, a gene was found that is related specifically to language. Did you know that babies who learn American Sign Language as their primary language babble in signs the way other infants babble with vocal sounds? ASL activates the same parts of the brain as spoken language and more. We know that music and language processes develop in the frontal and temporal lobes. They share a partial overlap, which suggests that these specific neural pathways may develop in the womb undifferentiated, allowing them to expand and develop side by side.
Basically, that means the systems in our brain that are responsible for music and language start in the same place and develop unique neural pathways. Eric Jensen discusses how the arts can develop multiple systems of the brain that yield cumulative results: self-discipline, motivation, aesthetic awareness, cultural exposure, social harmony, creativity, improved emotional expression, appreciation of diversity.
Most listeners of music are sensitive to the physical gestures that musicians make. If we eliminate the sound, people pay attention to body movements, emotion in breathing, and expression in gestures. So think about that. If hearing listeners of auditory music take interpretational cues from movements and gestures, why do so many people overlook the visual and kinesthetic components of music? Jay, who you'll meet in a few moments, suggests turning the orchestra around so the audience can see the physical and facial gestures of the conductor.
To be honest, it's very hard to determine what a hearing loss is from and why. So I started developing a little mild high-frequency hearing loss. But when September 11th happened, I was so close, about 1,000 feet, and all the stuff blew in. But we didn't realize what was in the dust. We didn't realize how toxic it was. So it's not just exposure that day, then repeated exposure trying to move out of our apartment. This repeated exposure, I'm starting to have this like endless cold, and I became deaf. What am I gonna be now? It changed my thinking. Instead of my thinking about how I want to evaluate music and quality of music, at an expert level, we are coming up against a challenge and we're going to overcome it. And it's not that this music is going to be the most amazing music you've ever heard. It's that I am going to make music anyway. So SETS came about because Julia and Hannah started a deaf music event up at Teachers College. They got all these groups of people together, you know, who are completely deaf, who grew up culturally deaf. So we're getting all these different perspectives, and I kept realizing that I have this vast musical experience that is still with me, even though I can't hear like I did before. And now I know what it's like to be deaf. How can I bridge this? How can I somehow convey what I've learned about music to people who are profoundly deaf, who've never heard music before at all? Through our meetings, we would talk about pitch. How do you convey pitch? And I was so frustrated with all the visualizers I'd worked with over the years because they don't give me music through my eyes. This year, we had this other group with Jackie, and we started to really talk about this in depth.
A little over 9 years ago, Jackie was in a very serious car accident that, among other things, rendered her deaf in her right ear. Jackie's desire to become a professional singer didn't appear like it would be part of her future anymore. However, what was once viewed as a major setback has become one of the most powerful experiences in our lives.
I began looking for new ways to experience and create music through feeling and vibration. With the help of countless people, I was not only able to achieve my goals, but far exceed any expectations I ever set for myself. In my journey back to music and singing, I met some absolutely phenomenal people.
I know it is possible to hear in my head. And I'm sure most hearing people can do that. They say, oh, imagine the last time you sang happy birthday, and you start to hear happy birthday in your head. So we know it's possible because music is an experience that actually happens in your brain, and the ears are just an input. Suddenly all this knowledge and experimentation and conversation just kind of morphed together, and poof, out came SETS. If there's music playing right now, do I really want to know that's an A and this is a G and this is an F? Because that's what most visualizers are giving you. We said, no, let's take all these things that you would want to know about music and let's try to recategorize them and let's try to work from a deaf perspective. So the name SETS stands for 4 words: space, emotion, time, and shape. My personal goal with SETS is to create a structure and a framework that gives everyone the ability to build knowledge upon knowledge. So you can build up this whole library of music experiences in your mind that later you can tap into when we start to give you visualizations of music, and it will create actual music in your mind.
We all see that music is very impacting to our lives. We're excited to see how music will continue to develop and how it will enrich future generations. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Email us at setscurriculum@gmail.com.